No matter what I tried to do, I was just producing Hydralisks, but those Psy Storms just ate the crap out of my Hydralisks. Those Psy Storms are just so powerful, and I'm not even sure it's worth the APM to really pull them away from the Psy Storm, because it seems like it lasts less amount of time than the original Psy Storm, but they were actually destroying my Hydralisks so badly. And you were actually able to go in, get your Zealots, and blow up my hatchery.
Yeah, that 12 o'clock base, you tried putting that up probably 4 or 5 times throughout the game, and I think I blew it up 4 times, and I think I only missed it once, and that was pretty much when the game was almost over. I think after I assaulted that base twice, I took it down, and then you put it up the 3rd time. I was like, this just isn't working, and so I went and took my gold base at the bottom right. And I think you were very surprised by that, because it seemed like your main, because I had like phoenixes flying around, so I think you were nearly mined out of your main and your natural, and you were very confused as to how I was still in the game, and that was actually how I stayed in the game, was that bottom right base I kept for quite a long while, and that was really that was the only reason that I was in the game, because if you had seen that and sent a force that way, I wouldn't have been able to survive for very long. But luckily you didn't, so we were able to keep playing that game at the 12 position for a while.
Yeah, dude, I was I was super surprised that you continually pumped Zealots after battle after battle after battle. I knew I had the economy to keep going. I was surprised you had the economy, because I thought you were still at 2 bases. But eventually, I did get the Ultralisk Cavern down, and I started bringing out those big, huge, beefy Ultras. At this point in the game, you probably blew up my 12 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock. 4th expansion about 3 or 4 times, but now I had the Ultras to defend that area, and you were just moving in with Zealot High Templar. That was your complete army build. After you were stormed out, you made Archons, and we clashed probably 4 more times over that 11:30 position, and I had the Ultras in front and the Hydras in the back, but your Storms were still doing massive damage. I think even to the Ultras, it was hurting them like hell too, but it still took a good amount of Storms to kill Ultras. But those Ultras, once you research their Cleave ability, that's the only ability they had from the Cavern, that's when they got really strong against your Zealots, because they do area of effect damage to all of those Zealots, and it was just battle after battle. But I think slowly and steadily I was getting ground at that 11:30, and I finally was able to control that position and get that intake, that gas that I needed for more Ultralisks. And at that point in the game, the Greater Spire was up, and I knew the power of Broodlords from previous games before, so I started making some Corruptors and morphing them into Broodlords. I had about 5 Broodlords, and this was about probably an hour into the game. The last half hour was just battle after battle over that 11:30 position. I had those Ultras in the front, the Hydras in the back, and I finally had an army of Broodlords as well. And you continued attacking, Psy-storming the crap out of me, Zealots moving into that 11:30, and I realized that to hold this, I would need some Lurkers. And this is going back to Frank's question. Finally, after setting up that scenario, I did get some Lurkers out of my out of the Hydras. I put about 4 or 5 down, and those Lurkers pretty much sealed the deal for that 11:30. It was able to hold it for me, because you know Zealots have a very hard time against Lurkers, just like in Brood War. So I had Ultras, Hydras in the back, Lurkers, and Broodlords in the air, and you were storming everything. Everything just clumps up so well in Starcraft 2 that Storm becomes exponentially more powerful. And at that point, I think I finally held off with the combination of Lurkers, Ultras, and Broodlords, the new tech in the air. And I think if you had brought in some more powerful tech like Colossus, that would have definitely leveled the game. But at that point, I was gaining a lot of momentum.
You know, the gas requirement, it's really hard, because I kept losing my High Templars in every fight, or making them into Archons, so I had to make more High Templars. And then on top of that, once you got Cleave, I didn't know that Cleave existed for this entire game. I didn't even know that tech was around, but I did notice that my salts were dying a whole lot faster, and I was like, this isn't working, so I transitioned to a bunch of Stalkers, and that's when I was able to win another battle or two. So I was like, okay, gonna try and mix up my forces. But with Stalkers and High Templars, even off of 3 bases, and I guess at that point 6 gases, there's just no gas left over to really support Colossus. You just run out at that point. I think I would have had to either use less Storms and go for Colossus, or do something else. I don't know. But I needed all those Zealots just to even like absorb the damage of those ridiculously beefy Ultras. Those Ultras are just those things are just scary. They're absolutely ridiculous. Hey, I had a question for you. How long did you have that base at the 6 o'clock? Because I didn't see that until like very close to the end of the game.
Right. About an hour into the game, Believe it or not, after a 4 base Zerg, I was starting to get mined out everywhere. I was running out of resources, and I was at about 120 supply. And I knew to break Dejavu, I needed 200. So I actually jacked his mirror side. Mine is 1130. His is the 530. I went and jacked his 530 and started mining there for a while as well. So Dejavu didn't catch that in time, and that gave me the more resources I need to pump out more Ultras. At this point, an hour plus into the game, I had about 12 Ultras, maybe about 50 Hydras or so, 5 Brood Lords, and a couple Lurkers. And you actually came in with Zealots. I think you came in and you took out that expansion, but you suffered some heavy casualties, and then I pushed in finally, and I started attacking your gold only. Man. Yeah, the Brood Lords really... I used those to pick off your reinforcements, and I just started pummeling away at your golds only at the bottom right, and I took that out. And I think from there it was GG, but that was an epic matchup. That was hour-long. We were getting mined out, and that definitely tells you that Starcraft 2 can definitely support a long-range game. And I know this entire time Phrank hasn't had anything to say, but, you know, I was just so excited to talk about that match. And he left. Apologies, Phrank, but yeah, that's how crazy the game was. I mean, that was just an awesome matchup.
Yeah, that was definitely that entire game took place over the entire Aussie concert. So just to let you know, me and HD Starcraft are such big nerds that we decided to play Starcraft rather than watch any of the Aussie concert, which I think was a great decision on our part. I wanted to address one thing that's been coming up a lot in the IRC, people talking about like Reavers and the old units. And so what they're going to do for the old units is what's in SC2 is what's going to stay in there. They might make changes, especially to the Zerg race. They were talking about making changes, maybe even scrapping whole units and bringing new units in the next few months. But I think Protoss and Terran are pretty close to set at least on what units there. They might change like balance. They might change balance issues, but I think the units that are going to be there are there. Zerg could very much change. But all the old units like Reavers and Dark Archons, etc., all of them will be apparent. Will make appearances in the single-player campaigns. They just won't necessarily be available in multiplayer. Play. I just wanted to say that because I noticed a bunch of people were commenting about that.
Right. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap up the podcast. I know that went definitely over what we wanted to do. This can probably be a 20-part series over YouTube on all of our channels. If you guys are watching right now, please do make sure to subscribe to youtube.com/Dejavu. What's the numbers after your name? Is there numbers?
119.
119. Phrank, which is Phrentos, Phreontoes. Is that right?
And, yeah, I'll just type it into IRC.
Yeah, well, on YouTube, on all of our channels, on the right, on the description section, we should have links to each other's YouTube channel, and mine, of course, youtube.com/HDStarcraft. Yeah, I want to thank you guys again for tuning in, asking these questions, and really, I just got to say right now, Starcraft 2 is going to be freaking awesome. And, hey, I don't know when beta is going to be out. I've heard rumors that it'll be out in the November, December of this year. And I'm really looking forward to playing the beta and bringing out some videos. But this is going to be so awesome. I got to say, Blizzcon was definitely a blast. And I guess with the last couple minutes we have, we could take one more question. I don't know, Dejavu?
Yeah, I mean, if they have any big questions here, you know, bring back the Vulture. The Helion is the Vulture, but the Helion, I think it was a general opinion that the Helion wasn't as good as the Vulture because it's flamethrower. When you move around with the Helion, the flamethrower, it actually has to rotate to fire, so sometimes there's a delay there. So maybe with proper micro, once people learn it, it'll work well. But right now, I think a lot of people are disappointed in the Helium for the most part. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. Here, anything else to say, HD?
Yeah, HD versus Husky is coming today, so that's coming soon. Shout out to Husky Starcraft, big guy, one of my friends. Oh, Team Liquid OSL party was awesome, so shout out to everyone from Team Liquid. I was actually there. I met Rhett. He was drunk as hell. Gave him a cigarette, and he was cool after that. But that went on for like 3 hours into the night, and that was really fun. I had a lot of fun at the TL OSL party. So, yeah, shout out to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Lastly, yeah, StarCraft 2, gonna be awesome. So I think that'll wrap up the podcast, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in to all of our channels and to SC2GG.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I had a lot of fun here, and I hope you guys enjoyed our little podcast here. We'll get an MP3 up for you as soon as possible, as well as maybe attach some videos and pictures from our Blizzcon experiences onto our YouTube channel, so look out for that. I think that's about it. This is Dejavu, and I'm signing off.
HD Starcraft, signing out. That's it. Bye, guys.
Later.